Okay, weird question for you. How easy should it be to understand the quests you're playing in a game? I mean, at first the answer seems obvious, but then we dig a little deeper, and it definitely becomes more murky. Thanks so much to HelloFresh for helping us complete the quest of what's for dinner. When designers started making quests for video games back in the day, there was very little rigor behind their design, as the industry was just starting and everyone was amateurs learning as they went. So everyone just made quests that they thought were interesting. Puzzles to tease the mind, but a lot of them in early games were basically incomprehensible without a strategy guide. I'm looking at you, Simon's Quest. But as design became more formalized and it became more of a profession, people realized that wasn't, well, great. That those sort of quests frustrated players and often led them to put down a game in disgust. I'm calling you out, Castlevania 2. Wait, did James and I just separately take a dig at Belmont's sophomore outing for the NES in our individual script passes? Did that really just happen? Jeez, looks like the morning sun never quite vanquished that horrible curse it left in our minds. And oddly, while typing out this silly occurrence that did actually happen, mind you, we both did this independently and had a good laugh about it, it kind of solidified the point. Quests like this can sometimes be so bad that they burn into a player's memory for years and not in a good way. Side note, I love Simon's Quest, it still makes me angry. That led to the prevailing wisdom that quests should actually be easy to understand. In fact, they should be so easy, you don't even have to read the quest text. Heck, you shouldn't even have to figure out who to go to get your quest from. Just slap a big exclamation point over the quest giver's head, and then when the player just wails through their text, a dot should appear on their map telling them exactly where to go. Ooh, and then when they get there, they shouldn't even have to figure out what to do, right? Rather, it should just sort of happen by them killing things in the area, or just sort of happen by going to another person with a giant exclamation point over their head, or even just sort of happen right when you arrive. And I hope you're getting by my tone that I'm being a little facetious here. That was the ideal that World of Warcraft popularized, and series like Assassin's Creed championed. And it stood as the design standard for almost a decade and a half, before FromSoft brought to the fore the idea that quests should actually kinda sorta be confusing AF again. And now in the last few years, there's been a raging debate among game designers as to what direction to go in. So, let's list the 4 broad categories of how much work is needed to understand quests with examples. Maximal work, like Elden Ring, substantial work, like EverQuest, some work, like Genshin Impact, and no work, like Assassin's Creed. First up, the Elden Ring, this is totally opaque, I hope you have a guide, style of quest design, is perfect for forcing the player to really understand the world they're in. It makes them dig deep and truly try to piece together the lore in order to figure out not only what they're supposed to do on their quests, but if something is actually a quest at all. This is great, if your game can support it. Because to make this work, you better be absolutely sure that your world is actually that deep, that you've put enough in there, that it's worth it to your players to really marinate in it. You also need to make sure that you're making the type of game where a player will want to do this. Because seriously, if these type of quests start showing up in my I've just had a long day at work, casual zone out and grind games, I'm probably going to start throwing some bows. EverQuest style of quests, on the other hand, are a little less opaque. They still come from the hardcore school of you have to search out your quests, as you don't have any little markers on your minimap and there really isn't a quest log per se, but at least you're pretty sure that something is actually a quest when you find it. Now, these are great for hardcore adventure, when you want your quests to be as tough as your gameplay and you don't want to have the player feel like you're holding their hand. But the quest grind is also integral to your gameplay. These still encourage your players to dig into the world and spend time researching when they can't be playing, but they also direct the player to search out quests, continually feeding them back into that part of your game loop. Next, there's the Genshin Impact style of quests, which we really should be calling a sort of hybrid style. In this, there's a lot of exclamation point above the head style quests, but also a fair number of quests hidden in the world that range from Zelda style puzzles to almost EverQuest levels of figure out this riddle from the lore. This approach appeals to a broad audience. There's something for everyone. And even if it doesn't quite provide the level of lore delving that the previous 2 methods do, it does tell all players that they're welcome here. But there's always a but, right? Because this method also requires that your game make around $1 billion every few months to sustain itself. Because to pull this off effectively, you need a lot of quests and puzzles. You need there to be a variety of them, meaning less reuse. You can't just have a million rat butt fetch quests. And you'll need to continually be updating them, since you have to split up your efforts and thus can only build a fraction of each type, because players will blaze through their favorite types fast. So, if you want to build a giga-successful MMO and happen to have a metric butt ton of working capital on hand, this approach seems like a reasonable plan. But if you're like the rest of us and are working on a game with a much more meager budget, you might want to rethink using this hybrid style. Which then leaves us with the exclamation over the head, go to this dot on your map style quests. And I know we were poking fun earlier, but I do think these got a bad rap for the longest time because they were kind of all that was out there for a while, at least in the AAA world. But the truth is, these too have their place. There are times when you want to play a game to tune out, to turn off, to just let go for a little while and not think too much. And this quest style is great for those moments. Though truthfully, they're not that great for narrative-centric games, because they encourage the player to simply click through the quests. Yet at the same time, they're also often still used in narrative-centric games because they also match the intensity of play perfectly. I mean, after all, if you're there for a story, you might not want some hardcore quest that's going to make you get up off the couch and find your phone so you can look up a guide on the internet. Yet, flipping back once again, because the way these quests are often incentivized with in-game rewards, they do encourage the player to simply do them as fast as possible, not lingering on whatever the quest giver might be trying to say. So to use this method, you have to strike a balance and find a way for these quests to be more than just things to be checked off a player's list. Now, with all that laid out, is there a clear answer to the question, how clear should your quests be? How much should your game hold the player's hand? Well, of course, there's not a definitive answer for that, because spoiler alert, everyone's different. But I think the point we're trying to make is that none of these methods are necessarily better or worse. Rather, they can just be applied in better or worse ways. So, when you're crafting your quests in your game, remember to ask yourself what your desired experience is that you want your players to have, and then design your quests around that. Are you going for a deep lore experience that demands a lot of the players going in? Or are you going for something more laid back, where the main goal is to give the player a sense of accomplishment? Both of course are valid, but both require different types of quests. And woe be to the designer who gets it wrong. Because honestly, at that point, it's kinda like gathering all the right ingredients for a specific dish you're cooking or something, right? I mean, you really can't go putting sardines on everything after all. Language, Zoe. Oh, it's a good thing our friends over at HelloFresh have us covered on the food front. So my 2023 calendar is actually already filling up disturbingly fast, which of course then doesn't leave me much time for any meal planning, which is why I'm just super thankful for HelloFresh, the delicious meal kit delivery service that frees up a ton of my time by saving me from stressful meal planning and expensive trips to the grocery store. I get all the ingredients I need to prepare just awesome home-cooked meals delivered right to my door, and then I'm eating in like a half hour or less. Plus they've got over 60 recipes and a ton of tasty add-on options available each week, so you're sure to find something that's gonna please everybody. Wanna go vegetarian? Pescatarian? Maybe fit and wholesome meals? They've really got you covered with it all. This time around on my HelloFresh order, I realized that the winter had really started putting the chill in my bones, so I wanted to warm up with one of my all-time HelloFresh faves, their Southwest Beef Cavatappi. Ooh, happy belly achievement unlocked. And since Jeff's New Year's resolution was to make more quick and easy dinners for his family, he whipped up their sheet pan sausage and pepper flatbreads, which just looked so dang good. Zoe and I actually braved the snow and swung by for seconds. Oh, and it was worth it too. And you know, another thing that HelloFresh gets right is their continued work on the sustainability and freshness fronts. Their produce goes from the farm to your front door in under a week. The ingredients are all pre-portioned, meaning less food waste when compared to grocery shopping. And HelloFresh is the first carbon-neutral meal kit company, which we just love to see. So if you'd like to save money on dinner and help offset all of that holiday spending you just did, now is actually the perfect time to give HelloFresh a try for yourself with this delectable deal. All you gotta do is go to HelloFresh.com and use the code ExtraCredits21, and you're going to get 21 free meals plus free shipping. Oh, no, you did not mishear me over your growling stomach, friendo. You can actually save a ton of money on delicious meals that are fun to cook while also supporting the content you love, the environment, and that grumbly tummy you just thought was talking to you. Again, that's 21 free meals plus free shipping at HelloFresh.com using the code ExtraCredits21. Your time and taste buds will thank you, and as always, so will we. Thanks so much for the support, everyone. You know who's just the best? Ahmed Ziad Turk, Angelo Valenciana, Arcalite Games, Casey Mustia, Dominic Valenciana, Joseph Blame, and Skylar Holmes. Thanks so much for your support, all.